The Honorable Minister seated close to the Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways is the hardworking, young, energetic Member of Parliament for the good people of the Esikado Ketan constituency. He's the Minister for Railways Development, and his name is Honorable Joe Gate. Last but not the least, another young, energetic, hardworking minister, the Honorable Minister for Transport, is Honorable Ku Ufori Asiama. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, in discussion, we shall allow our panelists, distinguished ministers, to begin by giving us some brief presentations, and then the question and answers will follow. It is my honor and pleasure now to introduce to you and invite to the podium the Honorable Minister for Railway Development, Honorable Joe Gate. Honorable Minister.
When I asked how much time I was told I've been given 20 minutes. I intend to start from the 19th century. So I wonder how I can move from the 19th century to the 21st century in 20 minutes. But the story of the railway is not possible if you don't put it in. You don't really appreciate what is happening if we don't put it in context. And the context we start from is the last quarter of the 19th century, 18 something. A lot of things were happening in the then Gold Coast. That was the time that Tete Kwashi brought cocoa into the then Gold Coast in 1876. It was the time that political agitation had started in earnest with the Aborigines Rights Protection Society. It was around the same time that our forefathers were resisting the land bill, a form of colonization which would have led to the kind of apartheid what we saw in the southern part of Africa, where the colonial government took over all the land. But around the same time, something else was happening. And in 1898, the British introduced the railway. They introduced the railway in a place called Sekondi European Town. It was introduced mainly because of gold. The purpose was to carry the earth through the port of Takoradi and away to UK. And they were carrying the earth because that time, like what we do to manganese now and to bauxite, they were not refining it in Ghana. They were not even washing it in Ghana. They would just carry the earth and take it abroad. And they started the railway in 1898. And they went through the mining towns of Takwa, Obuasi, and so on. And by 1901, they had reached Kumasi. Sorry, by 1903, they had reached Kumasi. And they reached Kumasi because you remember that was the time that in 1901 the Yasantwa War had ended. And so they wanted to move their troops in a hurry. Remember that Tete Kwashi brought cocoa to the eastern part of Ghana. He brought it to Mampong, the Buri Mountains. But it had moved from 1876 from the Mampong area to the western part of Ghana. Now also, let's note that you can't eat cocoa. You can't boil cocoa and eat it. It's not like cassava. It's a cash crop strictly. But what happened was that the farmers who were farming 1 little acre of cocoa each saw that now there was a train going by. The train was established or was set up for gold. But the farmers saw the train going by and realized that they can put their cocoa in the train. Remember that before that, they were carrying the cocoa 1 sack at a time to the port. Imagine carrying a sack of cocoa from Obuasi to the port. 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers. And they started putting it in the train. The impact of that is that by the 1930s, the then Gold Coast had become the world's largest producer of cocoa. And in fact, the then Gold Coast had become the richest British colony in Africa. The Gold Coast then was barely up to Kumasi. So it's about a quarter of the size of Ghana as we have now. I like telling that story because that is the impact that railway has. It started because of gold, but it was completely transformed agriculture. And with respect to the agriculture minister and all the people who are into agriculture, the reason why cocoa became the backbone of Ghana for so many years was not so much agricultural practices at the time, but it was because of transportation. And I say this story, and I like saying it because I'm of the firm belief that what we have embarked on, the transformation of our railway sector, will yield results that me and you have not envisaged today. Because when the British started it in 1898, they did not know that within 30 years, the then Gold Coast would become the richest British colony in Africa. Neither did we know that the cocoa that Tete Kwashi brought and brought to the eastern part of the then Gold Coast will become the backbone of our economy for many years to come. Now, the British continued the expansion of the railway, and by 1956, they had finished 947 kilometers of railway. Now, I don't even need to go to the map because I'm sure all of you know what Ghana looks like. Can you go to the next slide, please? What they developed was like an A. From Sekondi Takoradi to Kumasi, from Accra to Kumasi, and then they developed this line you see in the middle, which is from Kotoku to Huni Valley. What from Sekondi Takoradi to Kumasi was known as the Western Line, from Accra to Kumasi was known as the Eastern Line, and from Kotoku to Huni Valley was known as the Central Line. The last line was opened in 1956. The plaque that commemorates when it was opened is still at Kotoku. And remember that independence was in 1957. Now, in 2017, President Akufo-Addo said something which I think is remarkable, that one of the greatest tragedies of our post-colonial development is that we neglected the railway. The British left us 947 kilometers of railway. By 2017, it had virtually collapsed. You still had a line which was going from Takwa, or Insuta rather, somewhere here, from Insuta to Sekondi Takoradi. It was pulling manganese. The report from the Ghana Railway Company Limited says that in 2017, they had 700 incidents, from derailment to just the train going off slightly. It means that almost every day they had 2 incidents. If you take it that a year is about 375 days in a year. And it didn't make the news because they are just carrying manganese. So if you are going along and the manganese train overturns, you just put it back on and it's not news. Then you had a line which was going from Accra to Nsawam, the most patronized passenger service. As the train was going, there were holes at the bottom of the train, and you could see we closed it down by August. And then there was also the line going to Tema. And by September, October, that had also derailed at Achimota. So we're on our knees totally. We didn't have any passenger service running in the whole country. The last time a passenger train took off on Takwa is 2007. The Accra Kumasi train had collapsed. Everything had collapsed. What did we do since independence? A number of things happened. If I say nothing happened, I'm not telling the truth. There were rehabilitation, serious rehabilitation. There was reconstruction. In fact, there was even construction of a 15-kilometer line from Sekondi through Kojokrom to Takoradi. I know that line because part of it passes through my constituency. That line was a narrow gauge line, and I'll come and talk about narrow gauge and standard gauge in a bit. That line was a narrow gauge line. That line did not enter the Takoradi Harbour. The Takoradi station is outside the Takoradi Harbour. And that line, which was envisaged in 2010, was completed in August 2017. Now, I want you to also note that it was envisaged in 2010, the contract was signed in 2012, it was completed in 2017. 2010 to 2017 is 10 years, 15 kilometers. Sorry, it's 7 years, 15 kilometers. It's 15 kilometers of rail, but it's 30 kilometers of track, because there's a difference between rail and track. Because when the track gets to a station, you see that they lay more tracks. So in length of the rail line is 15 kilometers, but track is about double that, because some of the line is double and so on. So here we were with a collapse system, with a 15 kilometer of narrow gauge. The British left at 947. We had repaired 15 kilometers of that, and the rest has stopped working. Narrow gauge is the Old Testament. When you come to trains, standard gauge is the New Testament. Narrow gauge is a narrower gauge. The gauge is the distance between the two tracks. Now, in ECOWAS, West Africa, we have decided that we will use the standard gauge, because you want a train service which can move from Ghana to Burkina Faso. You want a train service which can move from Ghana to Togo. You want a train service which can move from Ghana to Nigeria. So we've agreed to use the standard gauge. And the standard gauge is a more modern gauge. The narrow gauge also, I must confess, is being used in South Africa, India, and a few countries. In South Africa, they've perfected the narrow gauge to the extent that in South Africa, they have moved the world's longest train, which is 365 wagons with one driver. Compared to Ghana, our trains is 20 wagons with one driver. They are 365, and they're all moving manganese. I mean, so I don't want to say us is a joke, because it be about my own country, but of course they've gone a little higher than us. So what did we decide to do? We decided to fast-track railway development, prioritizing our major lines, the Eastern Line, the Western Line, and also the line that will take us to Burkina Faso. Now, this project was linked to the Mpakadan project, Tema Mpakadan project. In 2007, the government envisaged a rail line which would go from an multimodal form of transport, which would go from Tema and use the water to Bupe. That was under President Kufuor's government, under the then minister Amir Kofi was responsible for ports and harbor. Now, what happened then was that MOU was signed, initial studies were started, and it continued when government changed. When we came to power, 2007 to 2017, a lot had happened. So we went to look at the line again with the Minister of Transport, and we decided that we would change the project to Tema Mpakadan for a number of reasons. First of all, by 2017, the world had become a more dangerous place. In 2007, when you were traveling, they didn't tell you to take off your shoes. In 2017, travel out of the country, you take off your shoes. I think the only people who don't take off their shoes is the president and the vice president. I remember at one airport, my shoes were off, and there was some Ghanaian, go home and crowd. Yeah, Minister Pan, waiting in policy. And I pretended I didn't understand what they were saying. But you take off your shoes, because Ghana, the world has become a more dangerous place. The Tema Akosobo project was going to end at where the Dodi Princess is. So it was going to go past our dam. There were concerns that if you have 100, 600 people, 1,000 people sitting in a passenger train going past your dam, and some of them have some idea which is not, somebody wants to do something to your dam, it can be done. Because when you are sitting in a car, you are entering into Akosobo, you are searched. Are you going to stop the train and search 1,000 people? So that was the first concern. The second concern was that you were going to drill through rock for 1.3 kilometers. We went with the engineers. You know, I'm a lawyer. I thought there were as many opinions as there are lawyers. But I tell you, engineers are worse. Talk to 4 engineers. They all tell you something slightly different. They'll tell you they are telling you the same thing. But when you listen carefully, so one will say, well, it cannot be done. Another will say it can be done, but there's an engineering solution. Another will say that, well, we can do it. But there were divisions in their opinion as to whether when we drill a tunnel 1.3 kilometers, which at a certain point is 60 meters away from the dam, whether or not it can affect the integrity of the dam. Because don't forget, the dam is just clay with a rock surrounding. By March of that year, I received a letter from engineers that it is a risk they are not prepared to take. So we should look at it, look at what we can do about it. There was a third reason. And the third reason is that if you see railway development and you just see the railway line going, then you've missed the point. Because railway is just a means to an end, it's not an end to itself. And railway, like what they used to say about Interplus, everywhere water Interplus goes, water goes. Everywhere railway goes, there should be development. So there should be space to allow for development. So we decided to change Tema Akosombo to Tema Mpakadan. It involved crossing the river water at Senchi. Now, if you want to go to Burkina Faso through this route, you have to, sorry, can you take me back the map, please? If you want to go to Burkina Faso through this route, you have to cross, through this route, you have to cross the river water at a certain point. Now, why are we going through this route? Because we could have gone through this route, we could have gone through rail routes. But first of all, because of those three reasons, that's because of security concerns, because it could affect the integrity of the dam, and also because where it was going to locate at the Dodi Princess, there's no space for further expansion. It's a rocky area, every one of you know the place well. And so we changed it to Mpakadan. Once we went to Mpakadan, I can tell you that the number of the interest that we have of people who want to come and develop a port, people want to develop real estate, people want to develop parks around there, is unbelievable. We have interest from Ghanaians, from Singapore, from UK, from everywhere. And so I can say with confidence that when the railway crosses to the other side, goes to Japan and comes to Mpakadan, you will see a new growth pool around that part of Ghana. And it will happen whether we like it or not. It's better for it to happen, for us to control it. Control in the sense, thank you, sir. It's better if we plan it. But even if we don't plan it to happen, and I'll give you a typical example. Look at the road going to Kumasi. When you get to Insawam, they moved away from Insawam. When you get to Nkoko, they moved away from Nkoko. The development is coming there, whether we like it or not. And so we have changed it to Tema Mpakadan. And what it has done is that it has put us on the route also to Burkina Faso. Now, when we went to Burkina Faso with the president, there were two choices to depart from Ghana. We could depart from the port of Takoradi or from the port of Tema. I have 2 minutes more, 5 minutes more, okay. We could depart from the port of Takoradi or the port of Tema. The people for Burkina Faso prefer the port of Tema. They do more business there. So it took us away from the western part of Ghana. Now, once we are doing this line, we'll take advantage of this line also to develop the Sheni iron ore deposits which are here. Ghana has serious iron ore deposits at Sheni, and if railway does not exist, there's no way we can bring an iron ore by road from Sheni down. And now we are about 635 kilometers to the border at Paga. And what is happening is that we have shortlisted, we started from about 16 contractors who are willing to do BOT. We've now shortlisted it to 3. And we are going to the last stage, and hopefully within the first quarter, we would have chosen the contractor who will join partner Ghana and Burkina to complete the line, and hopefully construction will start within the third quarter of this year. We'll continue because Tema Mpakadan is about 40% complete, and the contractors assure us that they'll finish by August this year. Whenever I say the contractors assure us, the people say the minister has assured us. Please, the minister is not the contractor. It is the contractors who have assured us. I'm repeating the words of the contractor. Now you ask that what are we doing with the other lines? Now this line alone is about 1,000 kilometers. Now when we do this line, just by one line, we have done more than the British did when they started in 1898 to independence. And this line will be completed before 2024. It means that in 8 years, the amount of work that will be done only on the Ghana Burkina side of the railway master plan is more than what the British did from 1898 when they came in to 1957, which is 59 years, almost 60 years. And the exhibition is outside. I'm not rolling the scroll. The exhibition is outside. I invite you to see it. You see the pictures of what is going on. But that's not all what we are doing. Now, on this line as well, what's called the Eastern Line, we had a joint project with Ministry of Transport. This was first the Eastern Railway Line and Inland Port at Bonkra. Now, we divided it into two. Not because the ministries have been divided into two, but there were investors who were only interested in Bonkra, and there were investors who were only interested in railway. So if somebody came and wanted both railway and Bonkra, we'll give it to the person. What has happened is that we finished the procurement process. 5 people were the last people who went. And then what has happened is that out of the 5 who went, we chose one, and one more, 1.5. One is complaining, has petitioned that he should have won it. And I say I have because the other one is complaining, but with not so much noise. What do I think about that? I thank God. Why do I thank God? Because when we said we're doing railway BOT, I was told all over the world that it's not possible. A kilometer of road costs about $1 million or above, a little above that. A kilometer of rail costs $5 million, and it can cost up to $10 million depending on where you do it. So we're told all over the world that you cannot do railway by BOT. Now, if we have 5 people and we go into one and more are fighting with us that it should be them, shouldn't I thank God? I have to thank God. And if you petition is part of the process. I'm a lawyer. You get up in court and you speak for 1 hour, and the other lawyer gets up to speak and he uses the words respectfully and so on. But what he's saying is that all you did was rubbish. What he's saying is correct. So I'm used to my decision being challenged. I have no problem with it, and it's going to be reviewed by the procurement board. And whatever they say, we'll work with the person who they say we should work with. But what it means is that this year, we'll start construction of the Eastern Line also from Accra to Kumasi. And that will be about 300 kilometers. My mathematics is poor, but there are students here. So the first one was 1,000. We've added 300. Is how much? 1,000 what? I'm talking to the students. It's 1,000 how much? The boys, the girls are answering. If this was maths and science quiz. Because some people are saying 1,200 and so on. How can 1,000 plus 300 be 1,200? Then we have the Western Line. The Western Line is from here and it ends at Kumasi with a branch line from Dugo to Awaso and the possibility of also going to Hinehini where the bauxite is. Now, let me tell you something. The president has said that this our export of raw material we should stop it. So we should start processing our raw material. So we are going to process our bauxite into aluminium and so on. Now, clearly, the point has been made that if we don't have railway and cheap gas, we cannot process aluminium. We can't get from Hinehini and from Awaso. And the authority, the corporation involved, JADEC, have given us up to 2023. They've told us that by 2023, we must have completed developing the Western Line and the line to Hinehini. The Western Line is about 300 kilometers. The branch line, including the branch line to Awaso, they have another 58 kilometers to Hinehini. We've started developing the Western Line. And when you go outside, you see a bridge that is being constructed. And let me tell you a secret. Railway people, they like confusing people. When I became a minister, they were saying viaduct. So I was like, what is a viaduct? I didn't want to show that I was too ignorant, so I wasn't asking anybody. So one day I cornered one of them and said, Charlie, what is a viaduct? He says, it's a bridge. So when you go to my stand, anything they tell you don't understand, ask them to explain it to you. That the minister said you should explain it. When they say viaduct, it's just a bridge. We're doing the longest railway bridge in West Africa on that line, 350 meters. And the reason why we are doing that bridge, that takes me to my last point. The reason why, don't hold your mic, please. Don't threaten me. That's my last point.
Honourable Minister, you have your 2 more minutes.
Thank you. You know, this chap, I don't know why he treats me that way, but anyway, let's continue. The reason why we have that viaduct is that now we are straightening the line. Why are we straightening the line? Because the train used to go 30 miles, 30 kilometers per hour, slowly to every little village and so on. Just now we are going at 160 miles per hour. And at 160 miles per hour, 160 kilometers per hour. At 160 kilometers per hour, you must have a straighter line. And so we are straightening the line. We don't have a zigzag line that goes everywhere. Remember also that another thing we are doing is that we are changing the formation. When you go to the Western region, the formation we are using now is asphalt. So we have an asphalt road, then they put the railway on it. We are doing a number of fantastic things. And we started the construction in the Western region. It was announced that we are going to also go to Koforidua. At the same time that we are constructing new lines, we are rehabilitating part of our old lines. And I'm happy to tell you that the line from Tema to Accra is in active use. And they are doing about 500 passengers a month. And we intend to go higher. We intend to create associated infrastructure around the railway. We won't wait and hope that it happens. We'll direct it. Tomorrow I'm signing a contract with the Ghana Institute of Architects to develop concepts and models which we'll present to the people of Ghana. Very soon we'll be developing a Ghanaian participation policy because we cannot be investing about half of our GDP into the country without Ghanaians getting involved. If Ghanaians don't get involved, it will be built by Chinese, Indians, Americans, and when they finish, after the defect liability period, they'll go away. So when you go outside, you will see that we have started construction or repairing a place that we are going to turn it into a railway university. We are doing it together with the University of Mines and Technology. We are not building a railway line. No, we are not building a railway line. We are not even building a railway sector. We are building a new Ghana, a new industry. And all I can say now is that we thank God and we say that Ebenezer, look at how far the Lord has brought us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you. Thank you.
I think that the Minister for Railway Development has really given us the linkage between transportation and development. And I do not intend to repeat that. Other than that, the audience will be bored. But what I will be doing is to fill in, like I said, with the transport side to try and see if I can make it a whole. The Minister of Railway Development used to be part of Minister of Transport. But when we assumed office, the President saw the need, like he said, at one of our rallies. The President indeed said that one of the tragedies that this country had experienced, and the Minister just said, after our independence, is the neglect of our railway system. So he saw the need to have the railway system from transport, to give it that impetus, to give it that importance, to give it that concentration, so that the minister can concentrate and develop the railway system. So the railways is part of Ministry of Transport, but just that we have shared the job. Joe Gate is doing the railways, while I'm concentrating on inland waterways and road transport services. My task this morning is very simple. Is to look at one of the government priority programs under the auspices of Ministry of Transport, that's the fish landing sites, and the development of the water lake, and the paperless transaction at our port. Like I said, the minister had already thrown light on the linkage between transportation and development, and I do not intend to go in that tangent. But to begin to say that, in 1995, the Ministry of Agriculture then did some studies into the activities of our fishing industry. Somebody may ask, why is there? Let me come back and give a little bit of history why Ministry of Transport is talking about landing sites, but not the fisheries. If we talk about what we call landing sites, We are talking about a small port. That's the definition of a landing site, a small port. And if you look at the agency that has a mandate to build ports in this country, that's the Ghana Port and Harbors Authority, which is under the Ministry of Transport. That is why the Ministry of Transport is engaged in building ports. So all the ports in this country, Takoradi Port, Takoradi Fishing Port, and Sekadi Fishing Port are all under the jurisdiction of Ministry of Transport. That is why we are involved in building this facility. In 1995, the then Ministry of Agric had some effort as the feasibility studies into the activities of our fishing industry in this country and came out with some suggestion that the conditions with which our fisher folk were operating were not the best. So we needed to improve their condition to enable them to operate very well. The fishing industry, the poor fishing landing site, inadequate, and in most cases, absence of storage facilities, post-harvest losses, unhygienic conditions, and poor handling of fishing among our artisanal fishing. If you talk about artisanal fishing, we are talking about canoe fishing or the traditional fishing activities. We have the industrial fishing activities and the artisanal fishing activities. So their conditions were not the best. The studies were done in 1995. So when President Kufuor then assumed office, between 2001 and 2005, a lot of activities took place. They wanted to do it again, found out the need why this project should be pursued. When the money was found, salt cuttings were done, unfortunately in 2008, we lost the election. So the government who took over from us, that one is history, I do not want to go there, decided they have another priority to concentrate their activities on. So during the campaigning era, the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, made a solemn promise to the fishing community that if by God's grace he's voted into office, he will make sure that the coastal landing site is constructed. So when we came, he gave a marching order between myself and the finance minister to find the money. Indeed, we have found the money and the project has started. The project has started along the coastal areas and also on the Volta Lake. The Volta Lake will be on the second phase. We've started actual construction. The projector can show you. Activities are going on now. I don't know if my people can show something about the work which is going on, because I don't want the people, including students, to live here and say that, yes, they show there the town, but they don't show that machines were working on, nothing, no activities is going on. I can tell you today that bricks business is taking place in Axim. You can see my good self doing the stakeholder engagement, talking to the communities, introducing the contractors and the consultant to them. This one is Axim. Yes, have you seen the MP? This one, book no lie, pictures no lie. So activities are going on. Axim, Discoff. There are 10 landing sites. We have Axim, Discoff in Western region. We have Emina. We have Mori. We have Manford. We have Winneba. We have Senyabreku. We have Gomoa Feta in Central region. We have Teshi in Greater Accra. And we have Kita in Volta region. And the Chinese government has also given us a grant. We are also going to start the construction of the Jamestown project. So activities are going on in all these areas. Most of them activities are going on. Winneba and Kita will be started February this year, including Jamestown. We are doing this thing to improve the livelihood of the people within the fishing community. And we believe that we need to improve their livelihood. So the component of the project include breakwater in some places, cold stores. We have day nurses, because when the women are selling the fish, the children should have the opportunity of going to school. We have realized that there's close collaboration within fisher folks and their families. And if we try to separate them completely from them, it will be difficult for women to do the activity. So as part of it, we have included the nursery as part of this site. Coastal, we have net mending machines. We are also going to build canoes, fiber canoes in Cape Coast and Osu. So these are the activities which is going on within the fish landing site, and we believe that if completed, it will help to improve the lifestyle of our fishing community. Now, on the Water Lake, the Minister for Railway Development gave you a link between the railways and the Water Lake. And I can tell you that if you use the Water Lake in going to the north, it cut your journey by 476 kilometers. It means that your running cost will come down. And if you develop the railway line from Tema to Mpakadan without developing the Water Lake, it means that the project will not have any value. So we are developing the Water Lake to make sure that there's that linkage between the railway line and the Water Lake. The water system, the water transport system in this country must be developed. Apart from that, the Minister for Railways something said that wherever the railway line goes, there's development. So we are building another port at Bupe, because once the railway line passes there, we need warehousing. We can carry the goods from Tema. When we take it from the ship straight to Bupe, for custom officers is going to be there. The linkage is that there will be an employment at that place. We don't need custom officers only to sit at Tema. Once we have a port activity going on in Bupe, there will be more custom officers being employed. That is exactly what we are going to do. On the Water Lake, there are about 2 million people who live along the banks of the Water Lake. The Water Lake, that area was a bare land. When the Kosomo Harbor was being constructed, they diverted the water into that place. So it became a lake. And that is a lake that runs from the south to the north. So what the World Bank is helping us to do is that they help us to do feasibility studies on the lake to determine the actual infrastructure facilities we need to put on that lake. Then we are going to have 2 activities on it. We are going to have the cross-ferry services, which is a social intervention project for government to do, and the commercial activities, which after the feasibility studies will determine the kind of infrastructure we need with the private sector. So we are going to have, there's going to be a collaboration within the private sector and government, that's on the PPP basis, to make sure that there's a rare commercial economic activities on the lake. Apart from that, when we assumed office in 2017, President realized that there's a constant accident on the lake. So we set ourselves to find out what is the main cause of accident on the Water Lake. And one of the things that came out was that we have trees, what we call tree stumps in the lake. Like I said, it was a bare land, so when the water or the river was diverted to that portion, it overflowed the place, and there are trees in the lake. So these are the trees which have been causing constant accident on the lake. So we set out ourselves to remove the tree stumps. And I cannot tell you that since we started these activities, that the Ghana Maritime Authority, which is responsible for regulating water transport in this country, or marine business in this country, started removing the tree stumps. I can say this to the glory of the Lord, that there has been about 99% reduction of accident on the Water Lake. Clap for the president. Accident on the lake has reduced about 99% reduction of accident rate. What we've done is we have charted the route, navigable route, and removed the tree stumps on that portion. I hope I have more time to speak. My time is not yet. Go on, thank you very much. Another area, when we assumed office in the maritime sector, we decided to do was to look at the operations at our port. It is being said that the international trade in the world, shipping activities count for about 90%. So we ask ourselves, what do we need to do? Is to improve our port infrastructure facilities. But we cannot improve your port infrastructure facilities without putting in place an effective clearing system. When we assumed office, the government of Ghana has set out itself to build with the private sector the biggest port in the West Africa subzone. Hitherto, we were doing 14 degrees draft, the negative 14 degrees. Now we have a port that goes as far back 18 degrees, between 16 to 18 degrees draft. It means that the biggest port in the world, what we call the Panamas, can dock at our port. But if you have such a port without having an effective clearing system, then there was going to be a problem. So the vice president came out with what we call the paperless port transaction system, that we need to introduce technology into our port system. What was he going to do? It was going to do so many things for us. It was going to reduce turnaround time. The cost of doing business was going to go down. So we set ourselves to undertake this project. We brought other port operators, Port of Antwerp, Singapore, Dubai Port. These are well-known ports in the world, first-class port. They came, we sat down with them, we judged all, then we rolled out the system. Initially, we had some few challenges, but I can tell you today that when we assumed office, the minimum hours that anybody can clear his goods at the port was not less than 100 hours. Today, if you can pay your duty, you can clear your goods less than 24 hours at Tema Port. But it will be unfair on my part to say that we don't have challenges. We have some few challenges, but we believe that as we roll out the system, we'll be able to overcome those challenges. So now we have the biggest port in West Africa, and we have one of the most effective clearing systems also in Ghana. On that note, I would like to thank all of you for having come to listen to the professor and the student. But I'm sure, so I'll take my seat and wait if there will be somebody who would like to ask the student a question. I'm sure all the questions will go to the professor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, students, I am privileged, as well as my colleagues, to be here with this unique opportunity to talk to you on our various sectors. I can see a whole row of the top cream of my ministry, led by the Chief Director. They have taken a very long road. They are here to support me, and I thank you very much. All of you are welcomed. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard so eloquently from my colleagues who spoke earlier before me, the ministers for railway, development, and transport. I am going to link the two of them up with roads and to let all of you herein gathered know and appreciate the importance of the transportation sector. Infrastructure generally is said to be the pivot around which the development of every country revolves. And if you take transportation generally, it's very key. It's key in the sense that movement of both goods and people can only take place through transportation. So if we talk about air transport, it's very key. We talk about water transport, is very key. If you talk about railway transport, is very key. And if you talk about road transport, it's equally key. Road transport is said to constitute over 95%. Some even put it at 98% of all forms of transportation. And this onerous responsibility is being carried out by my Ministry of Roads and Transport, and is made up of various agencies. We have the Ghana Highway Authority, which is responsible for the trunk roads. We have the Department of Urban Roads, which is responsible for all the city roads, and we have the Department of Feeder Roads, which deals with area roads and the rural roads in our country. We have serious challenges in the road sector. It should therefore not surprise anybody, any Ghanaian, why today everybody is crying for good roads. From Accra to Paga, from Elubo to Afrao, every region, every community, every town is crying for roads. Some are even going to the extent of demonstrating in order to receive attention for their roads to be worked on. It is our hope that Ghanaians will be a little bit patient and accept the fact that all roads throughout the country cannot be worked on simultaneously. But I want to assure the people of this country that one after the other, the government under the leadership of the President Nana Addo Dankwa and we are working on that. I want to give you a picture of our road infrastructure, and I won't take you too far. I will take you to at least 2017, when the good people of this country, and of course, God gave the president the opportunity to form government to look after this beautiful country. As at January 2017, if you take what we call the total road network size of our country, that is, if you put all roads in Ghana together, whether trunk roads or feeder roads or urban roads, if you put all together, Ghana has got around 78,000 kilometers of road. That's the total road network size of our country. And there is what we call the road condition. And if you talk about the condition of the road, you are talking about three things. You are talking about either the road is good, either the road is fair, or the road condition is poor. And as at January 2017, 39% of our total road network size of 78,000 kilometers was considered to be good. 39%. 32% was considered to be fair. And 29% was considered to be poor. But I must be very honest with you. In our country, and as I came to witness, to me, there was no difference between fair and poor. Even it was just a very, very thin line. So to put it in the correct perspective, I have always been maintaining that 39% of our total road network size was considered to be good, and the remaining 61% in a terrible condition. This was the challenge that faced His Excellency the President and his government as of January 2017. Just want to throw these statistics across so that people will appreciate the enormity of the problem at the road sector. But the President and his government remain undaunted And we have been working day and night assiduously to improve the general road infrastructure of our country, because we know its importance and we know how it can push the economic development of this country. I want to assure all of you hearing gathered that as we speak now, despite all the problems, despite the difficulties and challenges facing the government, there is no district in this country that road construction in all its forms, whether the normal road construction or depending upon the city and town, interchanges and bridges are not going on. In all the 260 districts that we have in this country, and in all the 16 regions that we have in this country, as I speak to you now, massive road construction is going on across the nation simultaneously. We are following strategic programs. My ministry has a comprehensive program to work on our roads under what we call routine maintenance. Another routine maintenance, we are grading the roads, we are patching potholes, we are desilting the drains, and we are clearing the wayside bushes across the nation. We are at the same time working on periodic maintenance of our roads, where we are doing resealing, we are doing partial reconstruction and minor rehabilitation, and a lot of overlays. As you drive around, I believe you are living witnesses that a lot of asphalt overlays are being carried out throughout the country, particularly in the cities of Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, Takoradi, Tamale, and so on. All the regional capitals, Kuforidua, Ho, Sunyani, and all the 16 regional capitals. And I want to assure you that we shall continue in this effort. We have also relaunched our mobile maintenance unit. Those of us who are older, I believe, remember the good work that that maintenance unit was doing. It had been defunct for some years now, and they were moving from place to place, road to road, to give quick and immediate treatment to areas of our road that have failed, particularly doing pothole patching. It has started in earnest. And that is why those of you who are very, very observant realize that potholes are being patched on all our roads across the nation. We are also working seriously on the Sano Hydro project. All of you might have heard of it. This is a special arrangement well thought out by the government of President Akufo-Addo and being championed and pioneered by His Excellency the Vice President. A special arrangement where we are going to receive $2 billion United States dollars under a special barter arrangement to work on our infrastructure, greater portion of which will be going into road construction. And as you are aware, it's going to be paid for with our huge bauxite deposits that we have in this country. Under Sanohydro, we have two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 has gone through the entire process, and it covers about 10 major projects, and we call them lots in the country. And these 10 lots of projects have gone through all the processes. We have gotten the parliamentary approval, having earlier on received the cabinet approval, and after finishing, we are going to have 2 interchanges and a number of key roads. The 2 interchanges will be built in Tamale, which the president cut short for it last year, and the second one will be built in Takoradi at the PTC roundabout. This together, in terms of kilometrage, is going to give us 441 kilometers, and is going to cost us $646 million United States dollars, of which Parliament has approved. And to interest you, the first lot will deal with Accra inner city roads, the second will deal with Kumasi inner city roads, the third will deal with, as I've mentioned, Tamale interchange project, which is in currency now, then the PTC roundabout interchange project. The fifth lot will be Adenta Dodowa dual carriageway. The sixth lot will be Sunyani inner city roads. The seventh lot will deal with Western Region and Cape Coast inner city roads. The eighth lot will deal with upgrading of selected feeder roads in Ashanti and Western Region. The ninth lot will deal with rehabilitation of New Abrim of Wasikuma Road, and the 10th lot will deal with the construction of Huawei Giasikan Dodo Pepesu Road on the Eastern Corridor Road. And I'm happy to announce that as we speak, the Eastern Corridor Road, which had been neglected for a very long time, about 6-7 contractors are on it, working on that stretch of road, and it's very important, linking the south to the north, and it has 2 advantages if we complete that road. If anybody is traveling from Accra south to the north of our country, if you go by the Central Corridor Road, the Central Corridor Road will take you from Accra through Kumasi, Tamale to Paga. If you go by the Eastern Corridor Road, you shorten the distance by almost 100 kilometers. And that stretch of road, the Eastern Corridor Road, also passes through a number of food baskets in our country. So it shows the importance of Eastern Corridor Road. Therefore, unfortunate and regrettable that it has been neglected all this while. And I want to assure all of you and the people of this country that work is going on in earnest, and it will see completion during the tenure of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. There are a number of ongoing projects, and we are strategically tackling key projects. For instance, Boga, Boku, Pomakro Road, covering a distance of about 109 kilometers, had also been left unattended to. As I speak with you now, work is going on there in earnest, and work on that stretch of road will be completed by latest October this year. You have seen a number of interchanges being built across the nation to ease congestion, because interchanges ensure smooth and even distribution of vehicular movement, thereby reducing even traveling time. Major interchange is currently going on at Tema Roundabout. Major interchange is currently going on at Pokuase. Major interchange construction is going on at Obechebi Lamte. The interchange of Tamale, as I have aforesaid, is going on, and pretty soon we shall start work on the Takrady interchange, Ofori Krom interchange in Kumasi, and Swami interchange also in Kumasi. A number of road projects together with bridges are taking place, because the two complement each other, and you can't build roads without fixing bridges, because you may have two excellent roads separated apart. They can't function, and they will be useless unless you link the two with a bridge. And bridges in the north, key bridges at Bupe and Yape, will see construction between now and the third quarter of this year, including that of Daboya. Volivo Bridge on River Volta will start pretty soon. Work on it is almost completed. The funding is secured, and that bridge on Volivo near Esuchari is key to serve as an alternative bridge to Adomi, so that when that project is completed, there will be no headache should anything happen to Adomi Bridge. And how can we do all this? We work with stakeholders, our cherished contractors, and we have to empower them for all this work to go on. The huge outstanding debts that the government had to tackle from 2017. I am happy to inform the people of this country that government had paid a substantial part of that outstanding debt. In the road sector alone, we met an outstanding debt of over 12 billion Ghana cedis. And we have paid a substantial part of it. Just about a month ago, His Excellency the President directed his finance minister to release 2.2 billion Ghana cedis to pay all contractors across board, to enable them go back to work. And contractors are either paid through Ministry of Finance, GOG, that is the Consolidated Fund, or through the Road Fund. As I speak now, all contractors who work with us and who are paid through GOG, that is Consolidated Fund, through Ministry of Finance, all those who were owed up to 5 million Ghana cedis, and this indebtedness started from 2014. We put all together between 2014 and 2019. All those who were to be paid through the consolidated fund, through Ministry of Finance, who were owed up to 5 million Ghana cedis. I want to inform the people of this country, having been privileged as the road sector minister, that all those in that category have been paid 100%. Those who indebtedness go beyond 5 million cedis through Ministry of Finance have been paid 40% of their outstanding amount. And everybody in that category has received that 40%. If you come to the road fund, and through the GOG, we disbursed a total of 1 billion Ghana cedis. I've told you, the finance minister, on the instruction of His Excellency, the President, raised 2.2 billion. So 1.2 billion was credited to the road fund account. And we categorized those who were to be paid under road fund. There is a group that we call SMCs, single man contractors. They do the desilting, they do the vegetation cutting and all. We had from 2014, those who had not been paid from 2014, totaling almost 18,000 certificates. As at today, and to be specific, as at the end of the year 31st December 2019, all the almost 18,000 IPCs, interim payment certificates, belonging to the people in that category, the SMCs, throughout this country, everybody, a single one of them cannot say that he has not been paid. All of them have been paid the full amount across the nation. Those who were owed between 10,000 and above, 10 million and above, have received 40% throughout the country. As at now, we are only dealing with those beyond 500 and 1,000 and under 10 million, payment of which is in currency. And I believe that by the end of the month, we would have finished with them. That is why all contractors are going back to work. My time is up. Let me end by saying that the government, under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, knows the importance of infrastructure in nation development, in particular, knows the importance of the road sector, and is doing everything possible to change the dynamics of the road sector. And we are accelerating our efforts to build a strong, robust road sector and to provide value for money, good quality road infrastructure for the good people of this country. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister for Information and the moderator. I think it's in the right direction. I've never heard the saying that in the midst of successful men, there is a woman. But rather, behind every successful man, there is a woman. So behind these successful men, there is a woman here. I think the Ministry of monitoring and evaluation deserves commendation. So on behalf of my senior colleagues, I will want to say Ayuko, Honorable Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Honorable Osei Akoto. Why do I say this? People keep on complaining. MPP for mu ye juma. Nana done ne mamu ye juma. Meanwhile, you are not saying it. People are not seeing it. And I think he's done very well for organizing this program so that we can share the projects and the good work of this government. Thank you. The Ministry of Special Development Initiatives. What have we done so far? We all know it's a new ministry altogether that was set up in 2017 when this government had the opportunity to serve the country. From the beginning, we decided to do two key activities. That is development of the bills for the establishment of the authorities under the ministry. And also to make sure that the ministry is in operation, or the development authority is in operation. So we developed the 3 development authorities bill, that is the Northern, Middle Belt and Coastal Development Authorities, so that this will be implementing the IPEP projects under their jurisdiction. Most of the activities undertaken in 2017 was geared towards the establishment and the operationalization, as I mentioned. And also, we did form 10-member teams in all the regions to go in to do needs assessments of the constituencies. So we can start with the implementation of IPEP. Now, IPEP implementation has 2 folds. That's top-down approach and then bottom-up approach. The top-down approach are the government priority projects that are taken out, decided by the presidency. Then we implement it from the ministry. And then the bottom-up are the projects that the community itself says these are the projects we want. When you give us drain, it's our priority. So we did all this in the 2017. Summary of our projects. We started with the construction of community-based mechanized water system, a 1,000 number, and also 1,000 number 10-seater water closet institutional toilets, 560 number small earth dams, and then 50 number rural markets, 26 number community clinics, 307 number fully furnished ambulances, and then about 800 constituency specific infrastructure projects. This are the projects that I just mentioned. The institutional toilets. We have the Jokuku constituency there, Bantama, Joabin. That's the completed water closet institutional toilets. And these are the mechanized water system. This is how it comes, with a poly tank on the stand. The borehole, the water will be pumped into the tank, and then they have the outlet. That's the standing pipe there, so you can operate instead of you using your strength to pump the water. You just open the tap and the water will start flowing. So that's the market, the water system. Then we also did prefabricated warehouses. This is Sandema, Ejura, Tolong. All these are completed. Atebobo, Boku. We are doing in all 50 warehouses. Just about 3-4 months ago, His Excellency went to Ejura to commission 2 of the warehouses. And then provision of the 307 ambulances. So far in the country, this is the largest fleet in the country. I was told by the CEO for ambulance service that it was His Excellency, the former President Evans Atamos, who brought in 150 ambulances. And this is the second highest in the country. I mean, the first in the history of this country, 307 ambulances. And these ambulances, currently, we have 259. Saturday, which will be on the 18th of January, the last 48 will be added to make up the 307. Training of the paramedics is ongoing. We are also tracking the ambulance. We are putting in tracking devices. Unlike those days when the ambulance will be there and the driver will just take. Somebody said he followed an ambulance some time ago only to see that the ambulance driver landed in a chop bar. He was going to eat fufu, and then on his way, because he was in the hurry, he was blowing the siren. People. And when he traced to know the exact hospital the ambulance was going, only to realize that the person was going to eat fufu at the chop bar. This time around, we don't want it to happen again. So we are tracking the ambulances. When there is an emergency, there will be a call, and then those in charge will be giving the information. They will go. And when they pick the patients, the paramedics will want to know the kind of problem the patient has. Then they will inform the center. The center will quickly direct them to the nearby clinic that can give support immediately to the patient if there is a need for the person to be referred to maybe Kolebu, then later the patient will be taken to Kolebu. So these are the tracking devices that we are putting in the ambulances, and that's it. In fact, they are parked just opposite this building that we are on the forecourt of Parliament. Fully furnished ambulance, 28th of January. That's barely 2 weeks to come. His Excellency the President will do the commissioning at the stadium. Every member of Parliament will receive the ambulance on behalf of his constituency to the constituency. And that's the picture of the rural market. You go to Ekumfi, just behind their lorry station, the market is there. You go to Mankesim, we've done some there. You go to, is it Kiapim North? We have another one there. Fantiakwa, they are also there. That's also the one in the eastern end. Kwiapim North, add also. And then Fantiakwa, we also have another one there. We are putting up 50 of these rural markets. The clinics, we were going to put up cheap compounds. And then the health ministry said no, they are moving away from the traditional cheap compounds that we know. Those days when a cheap compound is being built, you hardly get a medical assistant to be there, even a nurse to run the system for you. So these days they say they want us to include the medical assistant's apartment and then apartment for 2 nurses. So these clinics we are putting up, it comes with the nurses and then medical assistants apartment, which will be fully furnished before it will be handed over to the community. We are doing 25 of these. Then the constituency needs projects. They vary. There are different kinds of projects. The ministry is the type that does cross-sectorial projects. We do roads, we do clinics, markets, drains, name them. If that is the need of the constituency, we'll do it. So we are doing this number of projects: drains, school blocks, cheap compounds, their backgrounds in my own constituency. Those that are very familiar with, how do you call it? Autu Senya, that's Kaswa. Recently, I commissioned one of the Deba grounds in Kaswa. It's under my ministry that we constructed the Deba ground. A lot of projects are ongoing in all the 275 constituencies. Not a single constituency that will come out to say that they don't have any project in their constituency. Please, can you show pictures of some of the projects? Yeah. That's the school building. The constituency specific project, that's school building. Some also requested for more water systems because we know most of our communities, especially when it comes to the northern part of the country, they have a peculiar problem of water. So most of them still requested for water. And that is a construction of headmaster's bungalow at Kwatin and Kuma SHS. That's Techiman South. In Techiman South, we're putting up a headmaster's bungalow and then rehabilitation of a meat shop also in Jamai. Another project for the constituency. So that's some of the projects in the constituencies. Is this a police station? The color looks like a police station. Yes, that's a police station. Now, the one village, one dam. You hear people say the one village, one dam is not in existence. But please, we have gone to the communities with media men, and as we speak, the contractors are also there working. So far, we have done over 330 dams. We are doing 560. But so far, we've done over 300. Yeah, currently there are over 350 active sites. 350. But those that are completed, fully completed, are more than 200. And we have water in them now as we speak. Now, other projects that we are also constructing are urban market at Mankesim on your way to Cape Coast. When you go to Domi Kwabenya, we are also doing another ultramodern market there. We are also supplying 10,000 hospital equipment. We all know that in this country, our hospitals have issues of beds. So we are bringing in 10,000 hospital beds, different kinds of beds that will be shared across the hospitals in the country. And as time goes on, we'll do more of this. And that's the regional breakdown of IPEP projects. In the Northern Development Zone, we have in the total of 179. Is this water? 179 10-seater WC. 179 in total, all the northern regions. That's the number that we are doing for them. And also, we have the water system. We have 200 and okay, I think I did not see the number very well. The community water system, we have 283. And then the toilet, we also have 283. Prefabricated warehouses, we have 15 in the northern region. And as I said, 560 small earth dam. And then the rural market, we have 3 there. Community clinic, we have 7 there. Fully furnished ambulance, they are going to have 57 of it. All the 5 northern regions will have 57. So constituency projects too, they have also done 179. And this is the middle belt. The middle belt also has 337 mechanized water system. And then 334 water closets. 20 prefabricated grain warehouses, and then 29 rural markets, 12 clinics, and then the ambulances will be 109 going to the middle belt. In total, the constituency project, they have 333 of the constituency project in the middle belt. In the coastal zone, we have 380 mechanized water systems, 383 water closets, 15 warehouses, 80 rural markets. Then the community clinics, we have 7. Ambulances will also get 109 in the coastal zone. Their constituency projects, I can't see it very well. Constituency project, we have 234. That is for each zones. I would want to show a picture, a video of the dam. I just want you people to have a feel of the small air dam that we are constructing. So this is how the construction begins.
are allowed to ask questions or make brief comments. May I indulge you, because of the sheer numbers that we are seeing, please restrict yourself to one question per person.
Morning, honorable ministers. My name is Abna Pokua Ahenie. I'm the morning show host at Daddy FM Taifa. My question goes to the Roads and Highways Minister, Honorable Amwakwanta. During his presentation, I listened very attentively, and I never heard of the street lights on our roads. To be specific, plying the road from Achimota to Nsawam, from Nsawam upwards to Tichamanti and the rest, you could see no light. There's no light on the road. And sometimes it is very, very painful and difficult looking at the potholes from Pokwas, where the interchange is being constructed, to Amasamai and then to Nsawam. Yesterday at dawn, it was just by coincidence and God's intervention. We wouldn't have even heard a good news on that road, honorable.
And the question is,
what has he done so far on our roads with regards to the street lights?
Thank you very much.
Because it's a necessity. Thank you.
My name is Collins Edusafo. I am a pastor. I am very glad about what the president is doing. I'm very glad. There's no comment.
Thank you very much.
So if we all Ghanaians, we want to everything to be complete, what should we do to help the president to complete all the projects?
I just want to say thank you to our honorable ministers for the great presentations and the good work that they are doing for the people of Ghana. My name is Ebenezer Owusu-Addo. I'm a research fellow at
please, we cannot hear the...
Ebenezer Owusu-Addo, a research fellow at Kane University. And I'm just commending the ministers for the various work that they are doing for this country. My question is directed to the Minister of Transport and then also Roads and Highways. And it's linked to our dear sister's question with regard to road safety. It's been estimated that Ghana loses $230 million as a result of road traffic accidents. I just want to ask from our honorable ministers, this is really a public health threat. What are you doing in your term of office to ensure that road traffic accidents that is killing Ghanaians on a grand scale is ceases in this country? What strategies have you put in place? I believe it will be a legacy of this government. If we can say that within this president's time, Ghana reduced from 31st in the world in terms of road traffic accidents. Thank you.
Please, I would like to ask that does railway development only deal with construction of railways or it entails more? Thank you.
Even though the roads are not yet completed, is it going to be the normal 2-lane or three lanes that we have, or is going to be the usual ones that we see in these modern days, which is 5 or 6 lanes? Thank you.
Ready.
My name is Sadi Uti, and when it comes to roads in the cities and the urban areas, it goes to the Minister of Roads. I think the government is doing very marvelous job, but when it comes to the feeder roads, especially a road to my village, in fact, we are being neglected. Thank you.
What's your village? The minister wants to know what the name of your village is.
I come from Paga.
Paga.
My question is to the Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways. He spoke about some strategic programs, and I'm wondering if one of those strategic programs would be to consider enforcement. There's a lot of congestion when these roads are built, mainly by trotros taking over the whole road, and the good people of Ghana cannot enjoy what has been put there for them to enjoy. So I'm wondering whether that is part of it, and also the proper use of roads, which will also prevent road traffic accidents.
My question goes to the Honorable Jogate, the Minister for Keten Sekende. Please, Honorable, you are doing a good job. I visited Joapon, that's Old Accra, and I saw the railway line passing through there, and I was very happy to see that. But my question is, how are we also in the central region? From you know that say from Accra to western region, the road there, you know what's happened just Monday, and it's very terrible. Anytime I'm going home through that route, in fact, I become very scared because the road is very, very dangerous. It has become accident-prone area. So, Honorable, what are you going to do so that we also enjoy the railway lines passing through other places?
My name is Munkaila Jonas. I'm coming from Medina. Please, Honorable Howard Kumseng, Ghana is really proud of your ministry. For about some months now, it was reported for you to have said that your ministry isn't giving meaningful dams, of which this has been captured by the other party to trail on their campaign. Having this opportunity this afternoon, will you throw more light as to whether you are giving us dams or not meaningful dams, so that the truth is cleared? Thank you very much.
I thank all those who have asked questions so far, particularly the road sector. I find all questions interesting and intelligent. I should say congratulations to all of you. I will start with the lady who wanted to know about street lights on the road, particularly on the Nsawam stretch, and then the portals and Amasaman Nsawam Road. He described herself, I think he's a journalist. And I'm not surprised because your question is very, very relevant. Amasaman Nsawam Road is a dual carriage. Yes, the road has failed at a number of places. We are reconstructing that road and we are working on it. As I speak with you now, a contractor has been appointed. That stretch of road has been awarded, and the Chief Executive of Ghana Highways Authority is here, Mr. Brown, and his team handed over the site to the contractor about a little over 2 weeks ago, and the contractor is mobilizing to site because we want to work on that road in earnest. Our intention is to complete a full dualization between Accra and Apega Junction by the end of the year. From Nsawam, there is another contractor, a Chinese contractor, China Water. That company is also working from what we call Kwafu Chrome to Apega Junction for the dualization of that road. So please be informed, and all be informed that yes, we know the road has failed terribly, and because of that, there is contractor on it, and he's on site. Site camp is built, and work will start in earnest. So that road is going to be fixed. You talk about street lights on the road. My ministry is responsible for traffic lights in this country. All traffic lights in our cities come directly under my ministry. Street lights come under Energy Commission, but I can speak for them because we work together and I know what is going on. Ministry of Energy currently is fixing all street lights in Accra and other cities. There's a special program going on. So I believe all street lights that are not functioning on our highways in the next few days and weeks are going to be fixed. But let me add that we also have a big problem in this country. And our people must be patriotic enough, because even if you talk about the security agencies, they can be everywhere. One major problem that we have is that when we fix street lights, when we fix traffic lights, people vandalize them. People steal all the parts. And it's going on in an accelerated rate, which is very dangerous for our nation. All of us must be watchful. We must report people to the police, and the security agencies must work. The media, including your good self, young lady, should help our nation by hammering on such unpatriotic behavior of some of our people. Otherwise, we fix them today, tomorrow the parts are stolen and they are vandalized. The second one was on road safety. Road safety, I will leave it to my colleague, the Minister for Transport, under whose jurisdiction road safety squarely falls. But I will support whatever answer he gives with what I do in my ministry. I also have a road safety department in my ministry, because we are responsible for providing road line marking. We are responsible for fixing, as I said, street light, traffic light. We are responsible for providing signposts and all road signs and other road infrastructure called we call crash barriers, New Jersey barriers, and so on. Road furniture, generally. And again, you fix them today, tomorrow they are stolen. You fix crash barriers to provide safety for motorists, and our own people go and cut them as scraps, and we see them selling them around. We mount road signs to warn unsuspecting travelers and motorists on what is ahead of them on the road. You fix them today, by tomorrow people go round to steal them and sell them as scraps. We fix bridges, still bridges, and people go round in the night to remove all the boats and cut the trusses and sell them as scraps. If as a people we are not watchful and we don't stop these things, we endanger the lives of all of us. All must be involved. The third question was from a young man who wanted to know whether we are continuing with double lanes or dual carriages or on our roads. Yes, I agree with him. It's a very intelligent question, particularly on our highways. Now, those of us who are privileged to travel around the world, on highways, all highways are dualarized. All highways are supposed to be dualarized. And it has a direct effect on safety so that we don't experience headlong collision. Look at what happened just about 4 days ago at Elmina. And I will be visiting the site with my colleague minister of transport tomorrow morning, and road safety officials. We are leading the government delegation. One accident, and we lost 34 of our compatriots. It's unacceptable. So if we are able to build dual carriages, I think this will, if accidents cannot be stopped, will be reduced to the lowest minimum. That is why it is a policy of this government, led by His Excellency the President, to dualise Accra to Kumasi, and God willing, granted the second term, will continue from Kumasi to Paga. And then we also have plans to dualise Accra, Tema, Aflawo, Accra to Takoradi, among others. So I want to assure you that as much as possible, in the database of my ministry, we want to dualise as many roads as possible. Takoradi to Takwa, for instance, road is earmarked for dualisation, but all this will be done one after the other with the aim of reducing fatal accidents. A young lady asked about Paga Road. Yes, it's also being tackled, and we are working on that road from Borga, Navrongo, Paga. That road will have to be worked on, and my ministry is on top of it. So very soon, if you come from that area, you will see a change. The fifth question came from a young lady who described herself as a civil engineer. Construction of roads and the way our own people use the road. I'm not surprised she is a civil engineer, because she's showing great concern for the road. If a road is constructed, it's meant to be used by vehicles and at the appropriate time pedestrians for crossing and all. It's painful that we build roads in our country and subject them to all kinds of usages. In Accra, and we live in this city, Kumasi, Takoradi, you find a well-constructed road, asphaltic concrete road, and you see it so many places. And you see some of our women even selling plantain, tomatoes, garden eggs on a lane of the road, the double lane road. They take one lane and sell plantain, cassava, and if you go and touch them, there will be hue and cry. We won't vote for you. We won't do this. We won't do that. Pedestrian race. We get our own people walking in the middle of the road because people are selling all kinds of things, bags, and walking on the pedestrian highway. You touch them and there's hue and cry. So as a people, we must decide for ourselves whether we want to subject our roads to that kind of use. And I expect that the law enforcement agencies will maintain discipline on our roads so that that trouble is taken off politicians, and we must enforce it. And politicians must also be bold, damn the consequences to enforce it. We must be bold.
Thank you very much.
When we talk about road safety, it involves three components: engineering of the road, education, and enforcement. What we call the 3 E's. You may have a good road, accident may still occur. You may have a bad road, accident may still occur. United Nations indeed has defined road safety as a health issue. Indeed, it is so. It is becoming a problem in Africa and in Ghana. My simple advice to everybody that road safety is a shared responsibility. If it's a shared responsibility, the driver must be careful. The user of the road must also be careful. I don't know what to say. I think that this thing is becoming a problem in this country. And everybody must speak out. Don't leave this fight to only the politicians. Our appeal to our pastors and our imams and other civil society group to begin to speak out. Because the way the drivers are killing our people in this country, I will say so, I'm also a driver. The indication is that the statistics is that about between 80 to 90% of road accidents that occurs in this country is due to human error. The indication is that if we exert a little bit of restraint, that accident can be avoided. So please, I will tell you what the government is doing, but let me also appeal to everybody in this room that from here to Takoradi, you cannot line up police people throughout from Accra to Takoradi. And even if you line them up, they can't stand there from morning to evening or from morning to the following morning. They need to go and rest. So please, I'm appealing to all of us. Let's speak out. I'm not coming to what this government is doing. Last year, as part of the process of making sure that we tighten our road safety because the numbers were not good, the president increased the budgetary allocation to the 3 ministries which are responsible to ensure safety in this country. That's the Ministry of Roads and Highways. An additional money was given to them to construct more roads. Ministry for Transport, an additional money was given to National Road Safety Commission. At that time, it was a commission to do more advertisement. And the police were also given more money to do more enforcement. When we assumed office, the regional offices or the regional offices within the 10 regional capitals did not, apart from Greater Accra head office and maybe in Kumasi, they did not even have pickups. They did not even have cars to monitor accidents on the road. We were behaving as if accident only occurs in Accra. So what the president did through the National Road Safety and the World Bank, it will acquire pickups for all the regional capitals. In addition to that, the National Road Safety trained more people. They went around, recruited students, national safety, NACO people to move from lorry station to lorry station just to educate people. The police are now erecting all cameras on our roads. And let me appeal to you and the media. When somebody is arrested, please, the media people, allow the police to do their work. You allow people who commit offense rather come to the radio station, then you give them the opportunity. They say all manner of things against the police who are supposed to enhance or enforce road safety in this country. What happens? They lose their moral right even to pursue what they are supposed to do. I have been saying that somebody may contract, HIV. That person will die alone. Somebody may contract malaria, that person will die alone. But when road accident occurs, about 45, 50 people can die at a time. So the road safety issue is not a joke. I think that we've done enough. Look, a road accident occurred around Medina Adenta Road. The government gave additional money to the Minister for Roads and Highways to do the bridges. Now they've completed the bridges, people are not using the bridges. And I'm expecting the media to try to, please, I'm appealing to you, every morning, use 1 minute of your time to educate people on road safety. You see, I can tell you what the government are now we have changed national road safety. National Road Safety Commission into an authority, because the president realized that their mandate was weak. And in order for you to ask a public institution to perform better, you must first of all enhance its mandate. So we have now changed the commission to an authority with more enforcement powers on road safety. But they can do this. They can do all manner of, if we don't educate our people, if the people themselves do not see the need. You see, please, I beg you, just give me, even if I don't answer any question, I'm passionate about it because I come from a village. Some of our villages will have only one teacher. The teacher may be the one who will educate the people in that village, try to bring everybody. If that person gets accident and dies, it means that the whole village has collapsed. A woman may lose a husband, then the whole family will become destitute. The effect, the way the road accident is killing our people today, is something that we all need to speak up. I am not even going to talk about this. Yes, somebody asked what the government doing. I can tell you, we've done this, we've done that, we've done this. If the human factor involved, we don't take our destiny. You granted that the government hasn't done anything. We haven't done anything. What about the driver? What about the driver yourself? Value your life and value your personality. So please, this matter is becoming a national issue, and I'm appealing to the imams and our pastors and the radio, the media people in this country. Please let us begin to speak out. Let us educate our drivers. National Road Safety or National Road Safety Authority can do all manner of things. If they don't want to obey the laws, what can we do? And when they arrest them, like the minister said, don't beg for them and don't give the opportunity to come and tell lies in your radio station. Thank you very much.
I think it's an opportunity for me to explain myself in a better way. That video that came out, I was taken out of context. I was being interviewed, and the person asked whether I do appreciate the kind of dam that the contractors are constructing. And I said, yes, I do. Because the budget for the projects, one, we also said one village, one dam. So when we talk about a dam in a village, it means it's not that very big type of dam, because it's within the village. If you want to build a dam like Akosomo, Bui, or Kwarungu, it means the people have to leave the village. So it's not a type of dam we requested for them to construct. This dam is to make sure that when there is drought in the northern part, animals will have water to drink. They can do their small farming around. It's because of time. We have shown you people doing vegetable farms. And the woman who spoke Dagmani, all she said was that they thanked the president for giving them this dam because during this time of the season, they don't have water, any water around. And this is the water they depend on. And so that was what really happened. And I said that if you really want a meaningful dam like that of the Akosombo and the Bui type, it's different case. But what we are doing, we appreciate it. And I was taken out of context. So that was what happened. Thank you so much.
The young lady from Accra Girls asked about the link between railway and development. I could talk for 3 hours on that, but I've been told to talk for a very short while. First of all, every single developed country in this world has a serious railway network. So it must tell us that they cannot all be making a mistake. Wherever there's railway, there's development for 2 or 3 reasons. First of all, it reduces the cost of transportation. Railway totally reduces the cost of transportation. The cocoa sector, for example, the cost of carrying cocoa by rail and the cost of carrying it by road, I think is about half, about 50% less. Railway saves our roads. Because if people harass the road minister, build our roads. I feel sorry for him because he's going to build it in 3 years' time. The roads are going to get spoiled again if we continue carrying manganese, cocoa, timber, heavy loads on the road. and refused to follow the axle load. Because in Ghana, just now, the axle load, we are not even following the axle load. Those of you who know Sekedi Takoradi, the Sipun asphalt overlay was done in 2008 in Sekedi Takoradi. When there was a harbor expansion, the rock or the quarry, the rocks were brought from Shama. So they brought it from Shama, passed through a Sipun Sekendi, and went to Takoradi. It totally spoiled the road. In fact, heavy trucks pulverize the road. All the asphalt goes, it becomes like sand. The road problem in Takwa is because of the mining sector. So the minister will build a road, and I tell you that in a year or 2, 3 years maximum, the roads will get spoiled again. So, and just on 98%, above 95% at least, of our transport is by road. So if we don't do the rail, we are chasing the wind with regards to roads. And so first, it will also bring down the cost of transportation. It will keep our roads. And where the railway goes, development goes around. Let's even take the transport business. You have taxis standing at stations waiting for people to take to places. Imagine that we have a railway to Kaswa or to Adenta, and a train comes and brings 1,000 people at once. What will happen is that you need taxis to take 1,000 people. What happens is that where the railway stops, everywhere in the world, they start developing businesses around it. Because now instead of shopping in Accra, if you are sitting in a train to Kaswa, and if they take ShopRite, if they take the banks to Kaswa, if they take the pharmacy shop to Kaswa, you sit in your train and go to Kaswa. What it will also do is that it will reduce the cost of land. Because everybody will not stay in Accra. If you have a railway which is going at 160 kilometers per hour, even 150 kilometers per hour, you can get to Kumasi in 2 hours, 2.5 hours. If you are coming from Adenta by car and you leave your house at 7 o'clock, it will take you 2 hours to get to work. So what it means is that people can have heard people who say that they will stay in Kumasi and come to Accra. I met a gentleman who works at Gasem. I don't want to mention his name because he hasn't given me authority. He said that he used to stay in Sekedi Takoradi and work in Obuasi. He would go with a sleeper, even in those days. And so railway transforms, and I gave you the example of agriculture. So the cost of transportation will go down. The quality of life will improve. You have people spending 4 hours today in traffic to their homes, and I use Kaswa for an example, and another 4 hours back to town. Imagine that, and these are young people who are in JHS and so on and so forth. Even the people at work, you are a minister in a ministry. You're one of your director, the people in your ministry stays in Kaswa. Her child or his child is in somewhere around town. If the child comes to their father's place after work, can you sack the child? You have to be realistic. What is the productivity of a person working in the public service who is thinking either about the child who is in the office, is hiding the child for his minister because the child cannot go to Kaswa by himself, or the child has gone to Kaswa and the parent is in town. If the parent leaves at 5, you get home at 10 o'clock. Railway will transform this nation to bring down the cost of living. It will improve the efficiency of business. It will allow us to move from one place to another. It will reduce the cost of land. It will make housing more pleasant. Young lady, if there's railway, your life will be better in 5 years' time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Let me just do the Kaswa one as well. It's important for me as well. Because it's on my road. Because I'm from Central Western, so it's on my road. It's important for me. Yes, in this budget, it was announced that we'll do Accra to Kaswa as the first phase. The engineering design that was brought meant that we have to take off one lane of the N1. I didn't even go and tell the roads minister. He would have beaten me if I said it. Because he's trying to expand his road, and I'm going to take one lane of the N1. The plan was that they will go to Achimota, and when they reach Achimota, they'll go across the N1. They are looking at, just now, they are looking at various designs as to how to move from Accra to Kaswa without fundamentally affecting the road network. And hopefully, another design has come. Hopefully, we'll be able to start the construction. We may have to go in a little circuitous fashion. But also, don't forget that we are doing also from Elugu to Aflao. As I speak, we are doing the feasibility studies. And so, definitely, within the next term of the president, you will see that work is starting on the Elibu to Aflao Road. But if we get the correct engineering design, we'll be able to start from Accra to Kaswa this year. Thank you.
I acknowledge all chief directors of all the ministries. I acknowledge you all, beautiful ladies and gentlemen, for taking time off your busy schedules to join the first part of the program. The second part of the program will resume immediately after this. There's not too much breaks. There's no break at all. I've been advised there's no break. We shall continue with the second part of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had as our panelists the Honorable Member of Parliament for the Ewutu Senya East constituency and Minister for Special Development Initiatives, Honorable Mavis Hawa Kumsin was here with us. Honorable Minister, thank you for coming. We also had the Honorable Member of Parliament for the good people of the Esikado Ketan constituency and Minister for Railways Development, Honorable Joe Gate. Honorable Minister, thank you for coming. We have had the Honorable Minister for Transport, Honorable Kweku Ofori Esiama. Honorable Minister, thank you for coming. And we have had another hardworking minister, Member of Parliament for the good people of the Etiwa West constituency, Minister for Roads and Highways, Honorable Kwesi Amwakwata. Honorable Minister, thank you for coming. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hand over now to the Master of Ceremonies to take over. Thank you very much for coming.
I was going to thank you anyway. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Moderator General. Thank you, our panelists. And for all of you, we are most grateful.